Okay, I'm going to explain to you what we're doing with this second unit, which is understanding accommodations and modifications and advocating for yourself to get them. The first of a few pieces of paper you should have for this part of Unit 2 should have accommodations up here at the top. Okay, let's talk about the word first, a little vocabulary. Accommodations are changes to how a student completes his or her work. Okay, you're going to be expected to complete the same amount of work, but maybe you have a few things that'll help you with those. There's a whole list here of them. Larger print, preferential seating, things can be read aloud to you. You can get study guides. You can test in a separate room. A lot of people use that. Extended time, a lot of people use that. There's a whole list here, and you can look through them. All right. These are not changes to what's expected, just how they're expected. Okay. Now, the thing is, as you look at these, as a special ed student, you can get some of these, but you don't automatically get them if you ask for them. They have to be something that is helpful to someone with your specific disability. Okay, now let's talk about disabilities for a minute. We're all special ed students because there's some disability we have, and sometimes we don't like to talk about it, sometimes we don't like to really face it, but come, ask what your disability is, let's talk about it, and we can talk about how these different things help you based on your disability one-on-one. Talk to me or whoever your transition teacher is. Okay, the second page of this paper has modifications. Okay, the difference between modifications and accommodations is a modification changes what you're asked to do. Okay, so now we're changing the actual assignment or test. Okay, you can ask for partial completion. You can ask for different expectations, alternate assessment, modified assignments, modified grading. These are even harder to get than accommodations because now we're actually changing what we expect you to learn, and we definitely don't want to do that if we don't have to. Okay. The next page we're going to look at is called Modifying My Modifications. Okay, and we're going to do this as a group. All the freshmen are going to get together, and you're going to talk, and you're going to come up with a list of modifications that you all use, and you're going to write them in this 1 to 5 box. A lot of it's going to be testing in a separate room. There might be different ones, okay? But go ahead and share those. The next section is I want you to identify something you can start doing right now as a freshman in high school to help you be successful without these modifications, okay? Those modifications, we look at them as something you need right now and something that's going to help you succeed. But we also understand you're not always going to have those modifications in your life, whether it's going on to college or any other post-secondary education or even just a job. You may not always get those modifications. So let's find a way we can start thinking, even if it's down the road, of a way we can live our lives without those modifications. Part C, identify the person or people you could talk to about changing those modifications. Okay, I don't want to give you any hints, but look around the room. There's probably someone right in the room you're in that could be number one on that list. Choose one of the modifications your group listed and write it on the line below, and identify the person or people you could talk to about changing the modification. You're just redoing A, B, or B and C there. And then on F, write a short paragraph describing how you'll explain to this person that you no longer want to use the modification. Okay, it's got to be a little more in-depth than, hey, I don't need to go in a separate room for my test anymore. Tell me why you don't need it. Tell me what you've done to change the way you do things to make it so that you don't need that modification. Okay? That's going to be part of the advocating part is advocate for yourself how you've changed the way you do things. Okay. The final part of this in Unit 2 is where do I go from here? And this leans heavily on the advocating part. Education, work and career, and living arrangements. Where are you now? Well, obviously with education, you're in high school. Work and career, as a freshman, a lot of you aren't going to have a job right now. If you do, great, write that in. If you don't, that's fine. Living arrangements, I'm assuming most of you live with an adult somewhere. If you don't, then there's probably a problem. But just write in here where you're living. Where do you want to be 2 years after high school? If you're going to college, then you're either going to be done with your associate's degree in a community college or in the middle of a bachelor's degree in a 4-year college. If you're in a trade school, then you should put that in here. Work or career. If you're just going to have a job while you're in college, then you might want to have that in here. I'm going to wait tables while I'm in college. I'm going to work at a grocery store. But if you're wanting to start your career right out of college or right out of high school, and you're not going to be doing something that takes training or education to do, you can go ahead and write that in here. And then living arrangements. Again, what do you want to be doing 2 years after high school? The third column, who can help you get to there? Okay, are we talking about counselors, teachers, parents, relatives, friends? Write down who's going to be able to help you reach those goals. Now, this is the hard part. We have trouble advocating for ourselves. What's your responsibility for making that happen? Is it talking to somebody? Is it writing letters to certain people? Is it just filling out applications for certain things? Write 2 or 3 things in each of these boxes that are your responsibility for making these things happen. And then over here, you're going to write your rights for accommodations. In education, you'll have another piece of paper that's going to show you what your rights are. As far as work and career, there's some other things that are going to be on that paper that will explain that better to you. Finally, things about my future that I'm concerned about. What scares you as you make these plans, okay? These are obviously not written in stone. They're just ideas of what you'd like to do, but what gives you concern? What worries you about these plans? Below that, what do you feel good about? What do you feel like, oh yeah, I can definitely accomplish that? I know sometimes if we're not thinking realistically, we might feel good about everything. Hey, I'm going to win $1 million and I'm going to have the house and the car and the girlfriend that I like, but what do you feel really realistically good about in your future? And write that in there. Okay. Once you're done with this, you're done with part 2 of Unit 1.